When the new owners started digging up the back of the property, they thought they'd stumbled onto a forgotten storm shelter. What they found instead was a sealed wooden hatch, buried beneath the remains of a crumbling sheep pen. Inside was a horror that had been buried for nearly 3 decades. The remains of a girl who had vanished without a trace in 1986. And a truth more disturbing than anyone could imagine. This is the story of the disappearance of Kara Monroe, the quiet neighbor no one questioned, and a secret that hid in plain sight for 27 years. The year was 1986. The place, Mason Hollow, a forgotten rural corner of Washington state, tucked between dry hills and old farmland. The kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked and secrets take root under silence. 17-year-old Kara Monroe lived on a modest ranch with her older brother Luke, and their father, Henry, a widower and war vet. Kara was quiet but not shy, polite, bookish, a straight-A student who loved animals and kept to herself. She wanted to study veterinary science. Her room was filled with horse posters and nature magazines. That spring, Kara had started acting unsettled. She complained about noises in the night. Footsteps. Whispers. She told Luke she had a bad feeling about the man next door, Walter Granger, a middle-aged recluse who'd lived alone for over 20 years in a decaying property with boarded windows and a locked shed no one had ever seen inside. People chalked it up to teenage imagination. Small towns do that. They ignore what doesn't fit. So when Kara vanished one Sunday evening in April 1986, police assumed the obvious: she ran away. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. Just a note scrawled in shaky handwriting: "I have to go. Don't worry. Tell Luke I love him." But Luke never believed it. He knew something was wrong. He never stopped. The night Kara disappeared was uneventful, at least on the surface. Luke was working the late shift at the feed store. Their dad had passed out in front of the TV. No one heard anything. No one saw her leave. She was last seen feeding the chickens just before sundown. The sheriff's department barely investigated. No signs of a struggle. No witnesses. Kara didn't have a car. No boyfriend. No enemies. But she was of age. And according to the sheriff, she just didn't want to be found. The note was all they needed. But Luke wasn't buying it. Kara had been saving for college. Her savings account, untouched. Her prized dog, Daisy, left behind. Her toothbrush, photos, jacket, all still in her room. It made no sense. He told police about her fears. About the man next door. About the way she started locking her window every night. But Walter Granger had an alibi. He'd been seen shopping in town the day after Kara vanished. The cops did a brief welfare check. He answered the door. Calm. Collected. Said he barely knew the Monroe family. The case went cold in under 6 weeks. Walter Granger was the kind of man people just forgot. No friends. No family. Lived alone since 1963 after his mother passed. An ex-slaughterhouse worker. He had a gaunt, distant face and eyes that never seemed to look directly at you. There were rumors, of course. He walked his property at night with a flashlight. Screaming was heard once, but it was dismissed as coyotes. Some local teens swore they saw someone watching them through his attic window. But nothing ever stuck. Luke, meanwhile, never stopped digging. Over the years, he returned to the same place, the property next door. He even once snuck in and tried the door to the old shed, but it was padlocked, rusted shut. In 1993, Walter vanished. No one noticed at first. It was only after the grass overgrew the mailbox that someone called it in. His body was found in the kitchen. Heart failure. No next of kin. And so the house stood, rotting, for 2 decades. Empty. Forgotten. Until the Harrison family moved in. In the summer of 2013, the Harrisons bought the Granger property dirt cheap, hoping to flip it. Young couple, 2 kids, big dreams. The place needed serious work. Floorboards warped, mold creeping up the walls, animal droppings in the attic. They hired a contractor to clear the backyard. The old sheep pen was barely standing, just a frame of gray timber and caved-in fencing. But when the crew brought in equipment to level it, they hit something. A hollow sound. Beneath the collapsed flooring, buried under weeds, was a square slab of plywood. Nailed shut. Reinforced. When they pried it open, they found a narrow shaft leading down 5 feet. And at the bottom, bones. Clothes. A plastic hair comb. A charm bracelet engraved with a name. Kara. Forensics confirmed the worst. The remains were indeed Kara Monroe. The bracelet was a match. The clothes, consistent with her last known outfit. The cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head. She had likely died within 24 hours of her disappearance. Inside the hidden pit, investigators found more Polaroids. Dozens. Some blurred. Others too clear. Kara, unconscious. Bound. Frightened. The pit had been a kill room. Reinforced walls. Drainage holes. Hooks. Chains. A hatch that locked from the outside. It was beneath Walter's own shed. A search of the main house turned up notebooks. Disturbing journals in shaky cursive. Descriptions of the girl with sad eyes. Notes about training obedience. One page ended with, "She almost got away. I had to make sure." DNA samples revealed no other victims, at least none confirmed. But the implications were terrifying. Who was Walter Granger? He'd been quiet, solitary. No arrests. No psych record. But he'd lived a life of isolation. Former employees recalled strange behavior, talking to himself, obsessive about routine. Neighbors remembered him watching children. Investigators believed Kara was not his first obsession, just the only known victim. His writings showed a man both detached and ritualistic. He spoke of purification, stillness, and perfect silence. To him, Kara wasn't a person. She was a symbol. Of control. Of youth. Of something he could own and bury. For Luke, the revelation broke something inside. All those years he'd been right. All those nights he'd stared at the Granger property, feeling like it was staring back. And no one had listened. There was one final twist. In Walter's attic, behind a false wall, they found a locked trunk. Inside, VHS tapes. All labeled. Most were blank. But 3 contained footage. One was surveillance, Kara coming home from school. Another was shot from inside her room, the camera had been hidden in her closet. The last one. Walter. Speaking directly into the lens. Rambling about obedience. About love. "She cried a lot at first," he said. "But I made it quiet. No one could hear her. I made sure she stayed with me." The community was horrified. Families who had lived near Walter for years were shaken. How could we not have known, they asked. Could there have been more? The investigation expanded. Unsolved cases were re-examined. but no other connections were found. Kara was his obsession, his secret, his prisoner. In 2014, a memorial was held at the local church. Luke gave the eulogy. He spoke of Kara as the sister the world forgot, but he never did. He had her name carved into a bench overlooking the field they used to play in. The shed was torn down. The pit sealed. The Harrisons moved out within a year. No one wanted to live there after that. Today, Kara's story lives on, not just in case files or documentaries, but as a reminder. Sometimes, monsters aren't strangers. They're the quiet ones next door. And sometimes, the answers we seek are buried right under our feet. This was the case of Kara Monroe. A sister. A victim. And for nearly 30 years, a ghost crying out beneath the floorboards.